Welcome, everyone. Again, welcome. I'd like to extend a special welcome and thank you to Governor Baker and Mayor Wu and their teams for all their support on this important project. This building has a rich history over its 120, almost 100-year existence, starting with its groundbreaking in 1927, which was then called a remaking of the Boston skyline. The building started as a home for single women working in Boston with no other place to stay. It held a pool which provided swimming lessons for many Boston residents. It was the first place to offer trade classes and physical fitness programs for women. It provided women with cancer a place to come together to share sorrows, joys, and victories. It was the home to 2 leadership programs, one for high school students and one for mid to senior level executives, which we still offer, Lead Boston. And it was the building where I had the pleasure and privilege to work with the wonderful late Sylvia Farrell Jones. What is that? What is happening? That's okay.
No expertise on this. All right.
Thank
See if
you.
that's still working.
All right. 4 years ago, YW Boston made a significant pivot with our programming. We decided that we wanted to focus on helping organizations create more inclusive environments so that women, people of color, and especially women of color could thrive because they were often left out. And because of that new focus, we no longer needed this building to do our work. And so after careful consideration, our board made the difficult decision to sell the building in order to bolster our financial stability and allow us to focus on our core mission and not on managing a mixed-use building. And I just want to note that even though this building sale will help with us financially, we still need to fundraise. So if you haven't written a check, please do it. So we are thrilled that Beacon Communities and Mount Vernon Company bought this building. They will preserve many of the well-known cultural and educational organizations located at 140 Clarendon, including the Great Lyric Stage Theater, the Snowden School, and our offices, YW Boston. It has been a pleasure to work with them. Thank you to Howard, Dara, and team, as well as our own Jessica Zander for helping this deal get across the finish line. This sale is a win-win. It's a win for YW Boston. It's a win for the city of Boston. It's a win for the Commonwealth. And most importantly, it's a win for those who need affordable and safe housing. With that, I am pleased and honored to turn over the keys and program to Derek Cobell, CEO of Beacon Communities.
Thank you for those beautiful words, Beth. So this is truly a momentous occasion and an illustration of what miracles can happen when an urgent need is met with leadership and commitment. For a project of this scope to go from conceptualization to closing in under 16 months, for those of us in the affordable housing development world, that is truly the definition of light speed. The goal of ending homelessness, made more urgent by the impacts of the pandemic, brought together and aligned a broad spectrum of actors, that is, all of us. And we stand here in anticipation of the impact that this investment in this building will make on the lives of 210 households who will soon call it home. To make a project like this come together, you need a lot of ingredients. Financial resources for the building, rent support to serve those with no or very, very low incomes, and funding for services. But all the money in the world will be for naught without the right team to manage the property and help the residents stabilize their lives and thrive. While Beacon prides itself on services that we provide to our residents throughout our portfolio, the level of resident support at this property will be vastly greater than your run-of-the-mill affordable housing development. So when Bruce Pursley called Howard Cohen, our founder and board chair, who then called Beth Chandler about purchasing the property, and the concept was born, to create a large-scale housing resource for those who were experiencing homelessness, there was only one partner for the job. Pine Street Inn is the gold standard in service provision and housing for individuals, women, and families experiencing homelessness. When we first reached out to Pine Street, Lydia Downing and her team already had a huge project underway in Jamaica Plain with our partners, our friends, the community builders. And to be honest, we were a little nervous that adding this huge endeavor to their plate might be too much. But at every step of the way, they have been up to the challenge, working with us on service and staffing plans, budgets, policies, design, tenant selection, and on and on. We are so happy to have had them with us from the very beginning of our work and know that we will be a powerful team when we go to stabilize and support the over 200 households who will soon live here. So I am really pleased to welcome to the podium President and Executive Director of Pine Street, Lydia Downing.
Dara, thank you. It has been an amazing week for supportive housing and an amazing week for ending homelessness in the Commonwealth and in the city. I first want to thank our elected officials, Senator Brownsberger, who supported this project, Representative Livingstone, who's here, Representative Santiago, and Councilors Bach and Flynn, who were early supporters. I want to say thank you to Beacon for reaching out to us. We too had the same worry that, oh my, we've got two really big things going on here. But I have to say, the good news is, we'll be in construction for a little while. It'll give us some time to catch our breath, hire some staff, but especially to Howard and the team. This was Howard's vision. Howard drove this, and I can't say enough about not just the speed at which it went, but also just the amazing collaboration. To Jennifer Maddox and Kate Racer, Secretary Keneally at DHCD, you're amazing. Thank you for working with us on this. To Sheila Dillon, the staff at DND, we get into a lot of good trouble, and we get into trouble quite a bit, but in the end, it always does work out. So I want to say thank you for that. So grateful to the governor for supporting this project and putting together this team. To Mayor Wu, I hope this is the first of many, many, many. I hope we'll be doing this a whole lot during your tenure. I want to thank the Neighborhood Association of the Back Bay. They were early supporters. They worked with us on both their concerns and were really terrific partners. To the Back Bay Business Association, thank you to them as well. And to our amazing team at Pine Street who have been through hell and back through this pandemic. I just can't say enough about Jan Griffin, Megan Gaughan, Matt Pine, the team that worked with us. To Joe Friend from Mahasa. Mahasa, as you all know, has been a supporter of supportive housing for many years. And I don't know if Joe's here today, but I want to say thank you to Joe as well. And last but not least, when I said this is a good week for supportive housing, one of, I think, our frustrations at Pine Street is we know what to do. We really do. We know how to end homelessness. We know prevention works. We know bridge money out of homelessness works for people who just need a short-term help. But for folks that are homeless for a long time, we know that the most tested, most researched, and best solution is supportive housing. And it's really a question of, can we scale it? Can we find properties and partners, and can we scale it? And this is the start of that journey. And so I want to say thank you to our amazing friends at the YWCA Foundation, Maureen Blaudet, who's the executive director, Alicia Verity, who's also at the foundation, and the trustees for this amazing gift they made earlier in the week to help us expand supportive housing. So just a big shout out to the folks from YWCA. I now have the great pleasure of introducing this governor, and there's so much to say that I'm not going to say a lot. Everybody knows what an amazing governor Governor Baker has been. These past 8 years have been, boy, if not challenging, the hardest. 7, sorry, 7. It'll be 8 by the time you're done. So, but to the governor for putting together the team that has supported this kind of work, to the governor who we've gone to on numerous occasions and said, can we have some help with X and Y, and who's come through for us again and again. I'm going to say one thing about this governor and then have him come up. When the governor announced he wasn't running again, there was a huge collective sigh of just sadness, because he's been an amazing governor, and we have all benefited from his tenure, his time. We've benefited from his steady hand. And very sad to see you go, Governor, but thank you very much for being here today.
I kind of wish you hadn't done that, Liddy. But I appreciate it. I keep telling people that I'm not dead yet, okay? We have 13 months to go. I didn't get the $1 billion I wanted from the legislature for housing, but I got about $500 million, and I plan to spend all of it between now and the end of our term. And is Sheila Dillon here? Sheila, honestly, I can't think of another municipal official, unelected, okay, that I've been to more groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings with over the course of the past 7 years than you. And I know how difficult it can be, especially in a city of neighborhoods like Boston, to figure out how to do so much of the kind of work that you've done in housing. And I am so glad that Mayor Wu and her team are going to include you as part of their team, because you are a real talent, and we are very lucky to have you. And Lindy, I'm really glad you brought up Joe Finn, because now I'm just going to give you a little history. I go back to doing supportive housing with Joe Finn when I was Health and Human Services and A&F Secretary in the Weldon Cellucci administrations back in the 90s. Now, we were mostly working with homeless individuals who had issues and problems and challenges, but supportive housing absolutely works, especially when it's done well. And having you as the partner with the folks at Beacon here in this particular site will almost guarantee that this will be a huge win for so many. And Bruce, congratulations to you for figuring out who the right people to be part of this team was. I also want to say to Mike and to Crystal Cornegay and to Jennifer Maddox and to Kate Racer, you guys have been absolute champions of housing of all kinds over the course of the past 7 years. And the work that you've done on so many projects and the work that you will be doing on so many more going forward, along with Mike's advocacy for fixing some of the very exclusionary zoning policies that existed here in the Commonwealth that made it very difficult for communities to do much of anything with respect to housing for decades, does create a really terrific ramp for communities to build more housing of all kinds as we go forward, and we're going to need every single bit of it. The one thing I would say about this project, in addition to how fast it came together, was the kaleidoscope, checkerboard, jigsaw, whatever your favorite term would be, of financial elements that make this thing work. You have city money in here, you have state money in here, you have federal money in here, you have philanthropic money in here. Making a project like this actually pencil out, which at some point has to happen, is a complicated task. And in many cases, it only works if you have people from a whole bunch of different organizations and enterprises who trust each other. And a big part of what made this project happen as quickly as it happened is the players involved here trusted each other. And in a day and age when so many people in public life don't trust anybody for any reason or any purpose, I just want to say how grateful I am to live and work in a state where people do believe in one another, are willing to trust each other, and are willing to hang themselves out on the edge every once in a while to try to get something done. And that's exactly why this project happened so fast here in the Commonwealth of Mass. We have a lot more to do in this space. We look forward to doing it as we go forward. And I certainly look forward to hopefully having an opportunity to at least break some ground if we don't get to cut some ribbons over the course of the next 13 months. I've been saying for 7 years, we don't have enough of any of the kind of housing that we need to be successful here in Massachusetts. And when people ask me what kind, I basically say all kinds. And I just close with this. Beth Chandler and I both played basketball at Harvard. She was much better than I was, and she also played much later than I did. But we both think big people in the pivot really matter and make a difference. So congratulations to you, Beth.
So just to underscore a couple of the governor's remarks, and there are several people in this room who will get tired of hearing me say this, but as I said to many of those gathered here when we were out in Amherst in July at a ribbon cutting, and when up in Beverly about a month ago at DHCD's next round of awards, and as I will do to anyone who will listen to me, there is no better place to be delivering quality, affordable housing than the Commonwealth of Massachusetts right now. It is, this team, this leadership has made it such a pleasure, and we will try and step up at every opportunity that you give us. Our partners at DHCD and Mass Housing, Secretary Keneally, Undersecretary Maddox, Kate Racer, and Crystal Cornegay, these guys are quite literally second to none in leadership, innovation, and effectiveness. And to be honest, they're also really fun to work with, and that just makes it all worthwhile. So thank you guys so much. And I also, if we could clone them, we would. So I'd like to introduce our new mayor. So first, we are honored to have Mayor Wu here with us today. I think it's your 23rd day in office is what I counted. Throughout Mayor Wu's career, her campaign and her first days in office, she has proven herself to be a tireless advocate for those who struggle to make ends meet. Her stance on building an equitable city and her support for those most in need has distinguished her from the beginning. The investment made here at 140 Clarendon by the City of Boston embodies that commitment. The support from the city team has been amazing, and Mayor Wu, like you've heard already, the folks who you now call your staff have really been quite amazing at their work. Sheila Dillon, you and your team have been wonderful to work with, both at the Department of Neighborhood Development as well as the BPDA. They've been tremendous throughout the process and at every step of the way solving problems and coming up with solutions, so thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge, is Kate Bennett here? Kate? Oh, there you are, right behind Sheila. I have to acknowledge our long-standing partnership with the Boston Housing Authority. Without them, this project would not have been possible. Bringing all the project-based vouchers here with the small area fair market rents is literally what makes it possible for us not just to create the deep affordability, but also to deliver the robust service package that Pine Street Inn will be able to offer our Housing First households here. So thank you, Kate, to you, to Joe Bamberg, David Gleish, Amy Tran, and the rest of your team. We love working with you. You guys are fantastic. In thinking about this event, I was struck by the words of the mayor that she shared on her first day. Boston, this is our moment to walk together into our shared possibility. I believe this sentiment is reflected in the effort and aspiration that this project embodies. I'd like to welcome to the stage our new mayor, Mayor Wu. The one other remark I wanted to say is, as a female CEO, I am also very pleased to welcome our first female mayor to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, it is day 23, and I truly feel like a politician up here, standing up here to share in the credit for which I did nothing yet. But as Lindia has laid out the gauntlet, we will have many more of these, and I'm so excited that we will be putting a lot of muscle into making sure that the city continues to lead. I want to thank my fellow colleagues in elected office here, Councilor Bach, Rev. Livingston, Rev. Santiago, and the many others who couldn't be here but who have been championing and cheering on sometimes the difficult decisions of ensuring that we are building a city for everyone. And I am just going to layer on and echo the gratitude that this team is saying for this administration. Chief Sheila Dillon, Administrator Kate Bennett, just our housing powerhouses. Thank you so much for all that you do for the city every single day, and to your entire teams. You know, we've seen during the pandemic what so many of our residents living on the edge have known their entire lives and in our city and across the country for generations, that housing is health, housing is safety and opportunity, and it must be the foundation for our recovery from this pandemic. We see and feel the impacts of our housing crisis across our neighborhoods, and so to be able to stand here today in a building that will continue to bear the legacy of the incredible organizations that gave birth to this, the YW and Pine Street and Beacon, I'm so blessed and truly humbled to be witnessing this moment. This is a model for how our shared possibility can truly come together when everyone is all hands on deck. And we will apply this approach in this critical moment to making sure much more happens on the housing front, on the intersectional and interconnected issues related to transit access for residents and treatment and supports. So I thank you in advance for the many, many more times we will all hang out on the edge together, and just so grateful for this community and what we will see here not too long from now. Thank you very much.
Hey everybody, good morning. I'm Mike Keneally, Secretary of Housing and Economic Development. It is great to be with you all here today. After this 16-month sprint, can we call it that? It's just wonderful to see this project come together. In my 3 years as Secretary, I've had the chance to see a lot of affordable housing projects around the state. Kate keeps taking me on these tours all across Massachusetts, and you know, they're all different shapes and sizes, they all serve different populations, they're all in different parts of the state, but they really all have two things in common. One is collaboration, the idea that so many people have to come together with creativity and tenacity and goodwill and make these things happen. And I will say that the great joy in doing this work has been getting to know so many people that have dedicated their careers, their lives, to the simple idea that everybody in Massachusetts should have safe and stable and affordable housing. And so many people like that are here today. And what made this project happen? Beacon and Pine Street Inn and Mount Vernon and DHCD and Mass Housing and CDAC and the city and Bank of America. This is how we get these projects done. Great people coming together to make important things happen. So collaboration is really the first common denominator in all these projects. The other is that all these projects start with a building or a site and someone's vision for how that building can turn into housing that's going to really impact the lives of the people who are going to live there and enrich the community around it. Housing with services, housing that will have a true impact on people. And what's remarkable after so many years of trying to address the housing crisis in Massachusetts and trying to keep people housed during a pandemic, you know, we just keep innovating, right? We keep finding new ways to do this. And it is just nothing short of inspiring. This is a great day for the city, a great day for the Commonwealth. Congratulations to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Keneally, and thank you, Governor Baker and Mayor Wu for joining us here today. I am honored to join so many friends and colleagues to celebrate a project that could only have come together under pretty unique circumstances. During the summer of 2020, most of my agency was focused on emergency relief efforts and how we could immediately help the agencies, families, individuals who depend on our services. I want to thank our shelter partners, my team at DHCD, and the partners at Health and Human Services for their dedication and commitment for problem solving. And your work led to low transmission rates and high vaccination rates. In the early days, our housing development team, led by Kate Racer, was diligent in making sure that projects moved forward, that construction was still a priority, and refused to let a single project get derailed. We actually increased our investments in affordable housing during the pandemic. Early advocacy by organizations like Pine Street Inn and Father Bill's led us to create new funding pathways to prioritize SRO housing for individuals experiencing homelessness by converting hotels and motels. Now, earlier this fall, we celebrated Father Bill's conversion of Brockton's Roadway Inn to house 69 individuals experiencing homelessness in their own space. And soon, we will see 210 more of those opportunities right here in the heart of Boston. And none of that even touches on the individual contributions of people like Crystal Cornegay, who made many calls and moved mountains to make sure that this project could remain a part of the city. And so it's an incredible asset And it is an honor and a pleasure to invite my friend and colleague, Crystal Cornegate, to share a few words.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. The role I get to play in these developments is an honor and a pleasure, and you guys owe it all to Governor Baker, who, when he was running the first time, was deeply committed and moved around making sure also that everyone in the Commonwealth had housing options, viable no matter what their income range was. And as I always say to people, we met during his candidacy and fell in love. And so we helped build, he built a great team, and I've been honored and pleased to be a part of it. And as he has said, a lot of it is trust that we all build together, but a lot of it is because we've all been doing this work a lot. When I was doing this work on a community level, I know Sheila from that, doing kind of advocacy work. I know the Beacon folks from that, participating in kind of national stuff. I know Dara from that, and so we just come together and get these things done. And mass housing is an excellent platform to do that, because we are constructed in a way to do things at scale, to do big, hairy, complicated deals, and to help be a part of bringing together the right players to get things done. Last fiscal year, we did almost $900 million of lending. That was during the pandemic. That was kind of, multifamily lending was kind of unheard of for the agency, and we're very proud of that. And almost half of that was in the city of Boston. And so when these deals happen, they usually happen in our larger metropolises as part of the Commonwealth, and we are always proud to be a part of the team that does that. The one thing I wanted to do was two things. One is to thank the mass housing staff that's here, because, you know, I get to stand in front of the podium and they get to do all the work. And so none of this ever happens without them, so thank you guys. It's like the lights are in my eyes, I can't see you. And I also wanted to say one thing about my buddy Roger at CDAC, who is, CDAC provides a leading light to us about getting these deals done. So thank you, Roger, for your work. Thank you, Beacon, and Lindy and Pine Street for your work. And, you know, on to the next one.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Darcy Jameson, but I think almost all of you probably know that, since I probably spoke with each of you a dozen times a week for the last 15 or 16 months, whether you wanted to hear from me or not. In addition to sort of all the time I spent over the last, over a year, I have to extend some additional thanks to all the other folks at Beacon who you don't necessarily see or talk to every day, but who are doing an incredible amount of work, whether it's our compliance team, our insurance team, marketing, accounting, management and operations, IT, and the list just goes on. So thank you to all of my Beacon colleagues. To all of our public sector friends and colleagues who are here today, you've been incredible. I don't need to echo all of the thanks, but at a very personal level, I can't thank you all enough for your help and support. I feel like everybody in this room collectively really kept the focus on how do we work together to implement city and state policy. Your teams problem solved, made decisions quickly, adjusted policies to help us respond to things like the supply chain crisis and enable us to manage risk as a developer, and generally helped get every hurdle out of our way, which we appreciate. Most importantly, and to echo a couple of the comments that Crystal and the governor just made, we felt your trust, we felt your confidence, and we felt your support that this would all come together. The project really does highlight, as Dara said, how quickly something like this can come together when we all row in the same direction. So just a few more thanks. To our exceptional design, technical, and construction team, led by Nitty John at PCA Architects, our team of over 25 professionals, including NEI Construction, who provided invaluable pre-construction services, jumped in to learn this 100-year-old building and put together plans and specifications in sort of a Herculean timeframe. So thank you, everybody. To our team members who are boots on the ground here, management, operations, resident services, the HOU relocation team, the Boston Housing Authority's compliance team, taking ownership of an existing occupied building has a whole separate set of challenges to sort of the financing and everything else we've talked about here today. And so thanks to everybody for your help and coordination on all of that. And a special thanks to the YW, Boston and Maloney Properties for providing endless information to us, access to the building, and most importantly, giving us the opportunity to begin getting to know residents, many of whom who live here are quite fragile, so that we could really help them through this transition. So thank you. And to our cultural and educational and commercial tenants, thank you for rolling with all of our requests this year, and we look forward to a fun relationship going forward. And thank you to Lyric Stage for hosting us here today. So many of you have all thanked all of our city housing and finance teams, but I also want to extend my personal thanks to the BPDA, Transportation Department, ISD, Boston Water and Sewer, and other departments who helped us get here today. I mean, it's really at every level of the city and the state, and to many of the community groups and residents who supported us. So there have been many thanks today to the public sector partners, but deals like this wouldn't be made possible without our private sector partners. Blue Hub Capital, who plays a key role in helping the financial structure of the state low-income housing tax credit, which, as you all know, is invaluable to making many of these communities feasible, and Bank of America. With a deal of this scale and complexity, Bank of America was a natural go-to partner. They stepped up to purchase the federal, state, and historic tax credits, as well as close to $80 million in construction period financing. I'd like to welcome Maurice Coleman from the bank.
Thank you, Darcy, very much. Good morning, everyone. So I was speaking with the governor and Beth, and we both agreed, all of us, that we really enjoy big men in the paint. So let me start by quoting one of my favorite big men of all time, Bill Russell, who said that if you could take something to levels that very few people can reach, then what you are doing becomes art and not work. When I think about this transformative project, not only is it a transformative project, but look around, it is truly an amazing work of art. We at Bank of America have over 5,000 associates throughout the Commonwealth. So we understand the importance of affordable housing and the need for it. So this particular project is special for us because it represents the art of collaboration. You've heard many of my colleagues talk about the public and private sector coming together to make this happen. And without them, we cannot get this done together. It represents the art of innovation. We're thankful for Beth and YW. We're thankful for the Lyric Stage and the City of Boston Snowden School for their presence here in the 30,000 square feet of commercial space. But we're also thankful that we're providing affordable housing, especially for the most vulnerable in our society, those who were formerly homeless. This project symbolizes the art of teamwork, which you heard Darcy talk about as well. So I want to take a minute to give a special thanks to my teammates, Liz Gruber, Trish Marinelli, Jesse Newman, Laura Bagnell, and Jill Amaro, who all made this happen by working with all of you in the room today. Because it's because of you that we were able to provide over $150 million in debt and tax credit equity capital to make this project possible. This is absolutely an amazing project. We are thrilled to be your partner here today. But again, it is more than just a transformative project. As you can see, it's a beautiful work of art. And we look forward to creating more works of art with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, I'd like to welcome Howard Cohen, Beacon's chairman of the board. Howard needs very little introduction, but on behalf of everybody here, Howard, your vision, commitment to creating affordable, safe, supportive communities is truly unprecedented. Your ability to conceptualize how to bring partners together, to create new marriages between real estate and supportive services, and create new financing models is truly exceptional. And I think that I speak for everyone here when I share my appreciation for bringing us all along on this crazy ride. This past year, and for many people, for many decades. Howard.
Perhaps, for me, one of the most moving parts of this is that Beth started off this program. When I was negotiating with Jessica Zander, the CFO of the Y, it became, who, by the way, did an amazing job negotiating a very weak hand, and did a really outstanding job of protecting the interests of the Y. Jessica and I had this realization that the only way we could do this is by keeping the Y in the building. That was central to both the mission and the practicality of accomplishing it. And so in some ways, the fact that we started off with Beth and the Y, who became part of the things we wanted to solve, because we've given them some money now to effectuate their programs. We've given them a long-term offices. Really moved me a great deal. Really quite extraordinary. And I was thinking about some things that the governor and others said about the quality of the affordable housing community in Massachusetts. And as an old guy, I can say, you know, this has been the way for a long time, really kicked off by our Senator Brooke and the Brooke Amendment in the late 60s, early 70s, where the realization that providing high-quality housing was a federal state obligation, and he epitomized that. And I got the opportunity to work with the senator on the conversion of Keneally Point to Harbor Point when he was in his private roles. So everybody has a boss. That's the nature of life. In this particular situation, I had two bosses. When it became clear that Jessica and I and the Y could probably make a deal, I picked up the phone and I called Sheila. And I said two sentences about what I was thinking, and I said, do you want to do it? And she said, yeah, yeah. Hung up the phone. I picked up the phone and I called Kate Racer. I said, oh, and Sheila said, and save all of the social uses. We don't need to gentrify downtown Boston anymore. And then I picked up the phone and I called Kate. And two sentences, and Kate says, yep, and can you save the lyric? so we've obviously accomplished both of them. And then the rest of us spent the next 14, 15 months making this happen. The level of commitment and cooperation that's been commented upon was the most astonishing I've seen in my entire career. During the summer, we were under pressure from our contractor to lock pricing at a substantial amount of money and a very substantial risk. We were in the midst of discussions with DHCD on a final subsidy package that would need sign-off from A&F. I emailed Secretary Keneally and bluntly asked whether we were going to get the help we needed to get this closed, and an hour later, I got an email back saying, yes, we will. That's the level of cooperation and trust that made this happen. And I don't think anybody from the Raffles Hotel is here, Gordon or Jordan, but just in the spirit of things, probably the hardest phone call I had to make was to call them and tell them next to their new Raffles Hotel, we were going to be putting in 210 affordable units, and some of them focused on the homeless. And to their amazing credit, They realized that this was going to happen, and they just had to sort of figure out how they were going to grapple with it. I had a great team at Beacon. We were working with great teams at DHCD, DND, BHA, CDAC, Mass Housing, BPDA, the Assessor's Office, and B of A. We should all be very proud of our affordable housing accomplishments and community. And this is just another piece of evidence about what we can accomplish, which, as everybody said, is really based on trust and cooperation. I want to thank everybody in this room. You know, the idea that we're not on Zoom and that we're actually seeing each other is really amazing for me. But everybody in this room has been wedded into making this happen and has used their incredible talents and skills to bring together all of the forces that were necessary to accomplish this. So thank you all, and we're looking forward to moving in residence in about 20 months. Thanks a lot. We're done? We're done.
We're done.
On schedule, which is a very important thing for us.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our program.